Level 118. Place some walls between bombs. Now let's start here. A and B can't hit the same bomb, so one of them has to be 0. If B is 0, then nothing can hit this bunny. So A is 0 and B is not. B can't be more than 1 because they can't hit the same bunny. So B has to be 1. This is gray. So is this. These two have to be hit by C. So do these. And again, we need a wall here. So C has to be 2. You move on to N. These have to be hit by these bombs. So N is at least 3. Now if N is more than 3, then X can only be 2. But since C is 2, X cannot be 2. And it has to hit these at least. So that means N can't be more than 3. And these have to be hit by this bomb, so X has to be at least 4. These bombs have to hit at least these. And yeah, let's see. X is more than 4. Well, it can't be because we need a wall here. So X is 4. So that means Z is at least 5. And what about Y? Well, Y can't be 4 because X is 4. So it has to be more than that. Can't be 5 either right now because Z is 5. And Z bombs can't hit these bunnies because that would mean Y equals 4. And as we established, that can't be. That means Y has to be 6, and we need walls here and here. Now let's fill in some gray columns. And rows. This column has 2 walls. Now this is gray. This column has 7 walls. This can't be a wall because this can't be shut in. That lets us fill this row. No, actually not. Not just yet. This column has 2 more walls. That grays out this row. And we can fill in this row with walls. And now we have a lot of gray. This is gray too. So is this and this. And we need 2 more walls here and here. Level 119. So we see there are 4 crystals and 4 bombs. So 1 for each. That means bombs cannot connect to other bombs, just as crystals can't connect to other crystals. Now we can start in this row. So both of these bombs have to be hit. They can only be hit by these 2 bombs. And the only way to configure the walls to make it so is to put them like this. You can try any other configuration, it doesn't work. Now we need to have 1 wall between these bombs. So these are not walls. And it's the same here. These cannot be walls. 1 wall on this row means this will connect to either of these 2. Only 1 of them, though. And we see each of these rows has 1 wall So they must serve to separate it from the other one. If it connects here, it must be separated from this. That means this cannot be walls. We need at least something like this. Or this, or whatever. Now in this row, there are 9 walls. And that wall must connect to the path of one of these bombs, because the one of these bombs that is not connected here needs a path to some other crystal. And since there is 9 walls, it has to be directly connected to something else. For instance, here, something like that. So therefore, that can't be here or here. Because then in order for there to be a path, well, you would have to go here. And then you get a contradiction. These are not paths. And also you can't have a path like this either, because that would touch these. So these can also not be empty. Now this is gray. This is gray, and this. And now we see this crystal is touching here, which means it can't touch this bomb. And let's see, that also tells me that this crystal has to touch this bomb, because it can't really go anywhere else. Also, we have to have separation here. Now, these bunnies are going to be hit by different bombs, therefore they can't connect. So there have to be walls somewhere here, therefore not here. So that means there has to be a wall here. Not entirely sure, actually. So the wall on this column must serve to separate this and these. So it can be here or here. It can't be here, because then you would add empty spaces down here. That means these are empty. There's no way for this to connect to any other bomb than these two. It can't connect to this one, I don't think. Let's see, this one can't connect here. No, it can't. Therefore, it has to connect to this one. So there needs to be separation. Now these are gray. Now these need to be separated from this. And we need separation here as well. So the wall, you must have a wall in here somewhere to separate these zones, yeah? Either like so, or well, something like that. Therefore these can't be walls. So we have a connection here, and yeah, let's see. Yeah, this is now ready to be filled in with walls. That makes this a whole lot easier. Now we can fill in this gray. We need separation here. That means this bunny is hit by this bomb. We need separation here. This must be empty. This bunny has to be hit by this bomb. You have to fill in the wall here. This can't be empty, so it has to be a wall. Now this is gray. One more wall in this row. 2 more in this. This is gray. And these need to be filled in with walls. And the final space is empty. Level 120. We can fill in these rows. And now where in the world can we begin? Well, notice that these rows here have 9 walls, and the one here has a single wall. Let's imagine the only space in this wall is here, and the rest are walls. Now what happens is this needs to connect to all the empty space here, which means the wall can only be in the corner, or else we have a gap of empty space that is disconnected from the crystals. So while we don't know much, we do know that one of these corners is a wall. And so these are not walls. And you have a similar thing here, except instead of one corner or one wall, it's 2. So either these 2 are walls, these 2, or these 2. Or else we get disconnected empty space, which can't be. So now we know that these are not walls. So that gives us a starting point, letting us fill in this column with walls. Also, there's one empty space in this row, either on this side or this side. So this needs to connect to either side, because there's going to be, as you see, there are only 2 and 4 walls here. So there will be empty space that needs to connect here, and it can't connect through these spaces, right? Because there's only one gap in this row. So they need to connect through here. That lets us fill in this column with walls. Now we need an empty space here. And you see this is gray. And now we can fill in this column. Let's see. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces left in this column. 4 of them have to be walls. That means at least one of these 2 is a wall. Let's assume this is a wall and this is not a wall. That means that there has to be a connection here. This can't be a wall as we've established, because that would make this a disconnected empty space. So if this is a wall and this is not, then this cannot be a wall. But then you don't have enough walls in this column, which means that you can't have a situation where this is a wall and this is not. So that means either both of them are walls or none. Or wait, or this is a wall and this is not. We don't know that yet. But this has to be a wall, because at least one of these is a wall, and we know this one can't be a wall unless this also is a wall. Also, that means this can't be a wall. We can fill in this column now. And that grays out this row. So now we can fill in this column. And now this is gray. So that lets us fill in this column. And now this is gray. So we can fill in these columns with walls. And let's solve the final walls now. See, this column has one wall left to place. What if that wall is here? Well, then this is gray. There's a gap here. This is gray, so this can't be a wall, and this has to be a wall. But then this is disconnected. So these 2 walls have to be in the same column. And since there's only one wall left in this column, they can't be here. So they have to be here. That means these are empty spaces. So is this, and this finally is a wall. Level 121. First thing, we can fill in this with empty space. So now we know x is at least 7. Of course, x can't be more than 9, so it can't hit these. Therefore, we know x equals 7. Now, this row is y, and there has to be at least one wall. 2 walls, in fact, so we know y is not 0. So then what about z? Can z hit these? Well, we know that y is not 0. So z can't hit these because it would need to hit one of these as well. In other words, these can only be hit by this bomb. Now, there are 2 walls on this row, and if z is 0, they have to be here, clearly. And if they're not 0, then this has to happen. But well, would you look at that? If z is not 0, these two hit each other. So z has to be 0. And therefore, we need walls here. And we can fill in everything marked 0 with mark z with 0 walls. So 0 walls in this and this column, and 0 walls in this row and this row. Now, y can't hit this, so this has to be a wall. Also, the row can be filled in. Now, x is 7, so we can fill in the x columns. Now we see we need to have, so z is 0, we know you have to have a wall here. Also, these have to be hit by something, which has to be these bombs. Now we can fill in this row with walls. So now this is gray. We can fill in this wall. We can fill in this column. And now we know y equals 3, so the rest of this row is empty space. There's one more wall in this column, and in this column, and y equals 3. You have 3 walls, so this must be empty. And what about the last space? We could do some math and calculate, but I don't think that would actually get us anywhere. But we see that if this is a wall, then this is disconnected and isolated. And that can't be, so this can't be a wall, and it has to be empty.